Hi there and welcome back to another video. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Matthias and I'm an underwater cinematographer and filmmaker based in Zurich, Switzerland. On this channel here we talk about filmmaking in general, but also about filming specifically underwater. As you can see, I've just returned from my recent trip to Egypt, to the Red Sea, where I was able to test quite a few new pieces of equipment for filming underwater. One of the pieces of equipment that I was testing extensively on this trip was the underwater video light by the company Scubalamp. This is the model V6K.PRO. In this video, I will give you my feedback and my impressions of this lamp after having tested it for 2 weeks in the Red Sea. Coming up. So first of all, I have to say that I have been very impressed with this underwater video light, and I have to say that the company Scubalamp has made a terrific job producing this little underwater video light. Now I also want to shout out to my friends at Fentig who gave me this video light for the 2 weeks in Egypt to test it out. Fentig is the first choice as a underwater store when it comes to buying or renting underwater video or photo equipment. I'll link them down in the description. If you're from Switzerland, Austria or Germany, feel free to check them out and see what they've got on offer. If you've ever filmed underwater, you know how important light is, and you probably also know that you can never have enough light filming underwater. And this is simply because the further down you go on your dives, the less ambient, the less surrounding light there is, and you need to bring that light back into your scenes. All in all, this underwater video light is a fantastic companion when it comes to lightening your scenes while shooting footage underwater. There is a couple of pros and cons that I would like to share with you today. Let's start with the pro side. Now, a big plus with this lamp is that it puts out 12,000 lumens, which sounds like a lot, and it actually is a lot. If you're diving with 2 of these, which you would normally do so you can light your footage evenly, you will end up with 24,000 lumen of output power that will enable you to put a lot of light back into your scenes. Nevertheless, even though 24,000 lumen sound like a lot of light and a lot of power that you can put into your scenes, you still need to be fairly close to your subject to be able to see an effect of the light on whatever you're filming. Up until recently, I was using the Solar Video Light 3000, which is this one here, to light my underwater scenes when filming underwater. And as the name says, this one comes with 3000 lumen output, which is obviously a lot less than what one of the Scubalamps is offering you. Now, to show you the difference between 3000 and 12,000 lumen, what we'll do, we'll just shine them on the wall there behind me, and you can make up your own mind on how powerful this Scubalamp V6K.PRO really is. Now let's have a look first at the Solar Video 3000, and if I shine this behind me on the wall, you can see how much light that gives me. Now turning that off and turning on the Scubalamp, you can see how much light that gives me. Seeing it in comparison, this is the Scubalamp V6K.PRO and this is our Solar Video 3000. As you can see, it's quite a bit of a difference there. So apart from the output that this video light delivers, there's a few more things that I really like about it. One of it is the very natural and very even light that it produces. It's got a beam of about 120 degrees, which means that you can light a very wide scene with one or better with 2 lights that you have in position on either side of your lens or your dome port. Also very important is that the fall off of the intensity of the light from the center to the edges is very even, and you can't really tell where the center is and where the edges of the light are. Another cool feature that they've integrated into this lamp is that the part where you connect the lamp to an arm and then onto your camera housing, this is actually rotatable. So you can turn this around, you can rotate this, which is really handy because you've got the button there to turn the light on and off, and depending on how you attach it to your housing, you can rotate it so that the button is at a position which is most easily accessible to you while you're filming underwater. Also, the company Scubalamp has integrated as an additional purchase something that is called a blue filter. Now, a blue filter is, as the name says, a blue filter that you place on top or in front of the underwater video light, and what it basically does, it takes out some of the red out of the color of your light, and that can be very important for true color rendition underwater in your footage. This is something that works like in a two-way system, so you need a red filter that you place onto your camera's lens, and then you need the blue filter that you place onto your video light. But how exactly this works, this is a topic that we will be covering in a separate video that will come up in a couple weeks. So if this is something that interests you, please make sure to hit the subscribe button and make sure that you don't miss out on this upcoming video. And last but not least, what I really like about this lamp is actually the price. Now, lamps that offer you a comparable output in lumen will cost you probably about twice as much as this one. This lamp retails for about $900 US, which is very, very reasonable for a light that intense. Now, obviously there is a few things that I do not like about this underwater video light. There's not as many negatives as positives, but there's still a couple of things that I don't like. First and foremost, it's the weight. Now, this lamp, this video light weighs about 930 grams, which is quite heavy. This is something to consider when you're using this lamp when you're going on field trips and you're traveling, you're on airplanes. Having two of these with you will just add 2 kilos of weight to your kit, to your travel kit that you're taking with you, and that is definitely something that you need to take in consideration. Also keep in mind that the lamp will have about 600 grams of negative buoyancy, around 600 grams once it's in the water. So if your normal underwater camera rig is neutrally buoyant without the underwater light, the video light, you will need to add some floats to your rig to make your whole rig neutrally buoyant again. Another thing that I'm not a big fan of is the battery life that you're getting out of these scuba lamps. Now, this is something that is not specifically to the scuba lamps. Most of the lamps in that range, when it comes to lumen output, will have sort of the same battery life, but for me, as an underwater cinematographer, it is sometimes really on the short side. Now, if you're using it on full power, 100%, you will get about an hour's worth of light. This is just enough for a dive. If you're doing multiple dives on the same day, you just need to make sure that you either have time in between the dives to recharge the batteries, or otherwise have some spare batteries with you so you can exchange them in between the dives. If on the other hand you're using it on 50% power output, which still gives you 6000 lumens of light per video light, you will probably get around 2.5, maybe even 3 hours worth of light. And this is from my experience testing it now just in Egypt. That's actually not too bad, but as I said before, you can never really have enough light underwater, so I personally like to have it on 100% light output, and then just control the amount of light that comes into my camera with the camera settings, with your ISO, with your shutter speed, and with your aperture. Another thing that I don't particularly like about the Scubalamp is that it's only got kind of 2 presets when it comes to the output that it delivers. Now, if you press the button once, you will get 100% of power of light output, which equals the 12,000 lumen. If you press it once more, then it will drop down to 50%, and if you press it once more again, it will turn the lamp off. Now, there is a way to fine-tune the output a little more, but it's kind of tricky because you need to press the button, hold the button, and then after a second or two, it will start to decrease the output slowly, and once it reaches the amount of light that you want to have, you can then release the button and it stays there. So you can control the light a little better there, other than just the two settings. But it can be very tricky, especially if you're working with two lights at the same time, to have them at the same level of power. Dear people at Scubalamp, if you're watching this would be my input to you. Please, on your next version, include some sort of a dial that you can use to dial down the intensity of the light, rather than doing it with a button and a slightly complicated way of adjusting the intensity of the light output. Now, the last negative thing that I experienced with this video light is the charging time, the time it takes to charge a battery in between dives, and that can be sometimes a little tricky depending on how much time you have in between dives. Now, if you don't drain the battery completely, if you maybe still have around 40% left in your battery, it will take you about an hour and a half to charge it completely. If you do drain the battery completely, then it is more something like 2 to 3 hours to charge it completely from 0 to 100%. So that's certainly something that you need to keep in mind, especially if you're doing multiple dives and keeping your surface intervals fairly short. You will probably not be able to recharge the batteries in between the dives if you don't give yourself a long enough surface interval. Nevertheless, I can say that I was very happy using the Scubalamp V6K.PRO version. And even though I have to send it back to my friends at Fantic tomorrow, I can very well imagine actually purchasing this lamp and using it for my future filming underwater. Now, if you do want to check out the details of the lamp and the description and everything, I will place a link down in the description that will get you to the website of Scubalamp and to the specific site about this specific type and this model. So feel free to click on it and check it out and see for yourself what features are included in this really cool underwater video light. Alright guys, and that was it already for today's video. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got some information out of it. If that's the case, please do not forget to hit that like button. It really means a lot to me, and also consider subscribing to the channel so you don't miss out on any future content that will be uploaded here. Now, I'm planning on uploading quite a bit of content that I've shot during my 2 weeks in Egypt. There's a few more equipment pieces that we'll cover as reviews, and there is also going to be a few more tips and tricks on how to film underwater, what you need to watch out for, and what you can do to improve your footage underwater. So thanks again for watching, happy bubbles, and I will see you next Sunday.